Any opinions, thoughts, or viewpoints shared on this episode are that of the individual and do not reflect the position of any Grand Lodge appendant or concordant body from which the member may hail. Enjoy the episode. This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information. Brother Charlie Choi.
Brother Hamilton.
Ah, my goodness. Absolute honor to have you on Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lau. For our viewers that are tuning in, Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lau strives to peel back the curtain on industry professionals, business leaders, people of amazing places, and just in hopes of kind of understanding what makes that place, experience, business great, what made it successful, you know. And I am joined today by a legendary brother, Charlie Choi, super humble brother, and you know, he is very well known in the Masonic community, especially in Nassau County. He is a traveling brother. He travels a lot, super positive disposition, and truly a brother that, you know, lives up to the creed. You can talk to different Masons that know things in the Nassau community, and you mentioned brother Charlie Choi, and they all know him and they all have positive things to say about him. So again, it's an absolute honor.
Likewise,
thank you so
brother.
much, brother.
Thank you
Charlie
for having me on.
Yes, thank you for being on. And you know, we have a lot to unpack and discuss, you know, and a lot of times I have leaders from great places on and talk about, you know, that organization, right? But like, to me, it's not just about the organization, it's about the people that are in it. It's about, you know, the movers and shakers of the organizations. And, you know, I would love to dive into your background and get to know and share your story with our viewers as well.
Absolutely.
Just, you know, get a little glimpse of what is it that makes certain places amazing. So, Brother Charlie is a Freemason. I would love to at least, you know, talk a little bit about what is Freemasonry, and
Absolutely.
and again, you know, it's I am very researched on it as well, so like I love to, you know, add a few pointers and thoughts on that too. But yeah, but please, Brother Charlie, thank you again for coming.
Absolutely. I was born into Freemasonry.
Oh yeah.
So I have 15, 20 of my relatives, all male,
Wow.
dating back over 100 years. Father, grandfathers, uncles, cousins, brothers. We're all Masons.
Wow. When you were growing up, what were you told about Freemasonry?
Well, you're not really told about it. You experience it. You live it. So I would be going to the public events, the social events, picnics, traveling, especially with the St Albans gatherings.
Yeah.
So that's open to families, and we would take our children. Our
Yeah.
parents would take to parks. We'd have meet in Eisenhower Park or something.
Right.
Have a picnic. All the kids would come. All the wives, friends. So it wasn't just exclusively Masons.
Right.
So as a child, that's how I was exposed to Masons.
Wow. What did you see in Freemasonry that was like, this is interesting?
The camaraderie. It was like a family. You know, you see all the other families come together, just like any barbecue, just like any outing, and you see all the different backgrounds, the different professions, getting together,
Yeah.
breaking bread,
Yeah.
having good times,
Yeah.
fun times.
And it's not common that you have a brother that is exposed so much at a young age, you know, to the craft, especially with you know, like these events that you go to at Eisenhower Park, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, What was some other things that you've seen, like as far as the camaraderie and brotherhood, that was like interesting to you, growing up?
Well, a lot of the brothers help each other. Not only help each other's brotherly love wise, but say, unfortunately, a brother passes away and you have a widow, you make sure that they're taken care of. If there's a snowstorm, you shovel out the walkway or the driveway. You check up on people, children.
Yes.
Make sure that the orphans are taken care of. So that's an important part of Masonry with charity.
Wow, that must have been like, to me, for me growing up, it was like I was never exposed to these kind of things. So I'm sure I can only imagine to be surrounded by this environment growing up. It must have been extremely powerful to see, like, wow,
Different.
just this strong bond of unity and helping each other in need.
Right.
That must have been very encouraging and inspiring for you, especially when you got older. What age is it to join Freemasonry? Is it? I think I reduced to 18. Is it?
It was 21. They just lowered it to 18.
Right.
2 years ago.
Right. So when you joined, you were 21 or over.
I was 21.
Oh, okay. Wow. So when you hit that age, it was like I knew this was something that I
definitely.
wanted to do. Yeah. There's a lot of talk, like not so nice things about Freemasonry. What is your thoughts about that?
I think a lot of it has to do with technology because you can Google Freemasonry and you can be exposed to literally hundreds, if not thousands, of Masonic entities that are fake. They have no connection with any Grand Lodge. Anybody can put out there that they are Freemasons, and you can join online and get a membership card
Yeah.
and not learn any ritual, not know any background
Yeah.
other than you think you're a Mason. And honestly, people don't know. And the things that they teach you aren't necessarily true of Freemasonry. And yet you get a dues card and you think you're a Mason.
Right.
And I know brother Masons that have joined what they call clandestine lodges, not even aware of it until somebody who is a recognized brother of a recognized grand jurisdiction says, my brother,
Yeah.
that's a fake lodge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh my God, I didn't know. And how would you?
Yeah.
So that has the biggest, I think, effect on negativeness is the internet and technology.
Yeah. I would say definitely be wary, for our viewers,
Yeah.
because, every quote unquote Freemason that you encounter may not actually be a
Be a
brother,
Mason, right.
like actual Mason. I mean, maybe they even just like the logo of the square and compass, right? And maybe they put it on their car just because
Right.
they think it looks cool. Or as Brother Charlie was saying, maybe they themselves join a clandestine lodge and they think that the lodge is a real lodge
Right.
and properly recognized lodge, and now they're suddenly recruiting people, right? Like so definitely it's not something that you can just meet somebody and say, okay, I want to join. Like it's something that you have to be careful with, as with anything anybody does in their
Anything
life,
in life,
right?
you should research it. And the easiest way is just to whatever state you live in, jurisdiction, there are legitimate Grand Lodges that are all online that you can research.
Yes.
Just don't
Absolutely.
hit that first one.
Yes. I mean, our viewers will know, like, I used to be a public school teacher, and I am a big proponent of utilizing technology, of course, but, of course, utilizing common sense as well. Don't just take one website's word for it,
Right.
research, really do your research, use multiple websites, find out the good and the bad, and then, talk to brothers and challenge brothers, like these, brothers, and I quote, just for those instances, if you do encounter a non-legit brother, challenge them and talk to them about the concerns and see what kind of answers you get, because, you'd be surprised, for what I've seen is, the brotherhood is extremely strong. I totally see that in the fraternity of Freemasonry.
Bonds, yeah.
The bonds that are built are just, it's incredible. But it seems like what links the bonds, it's like for our viewers that are not familiar with Freemasonry, it's really taking the craft of stonemasonry, whether it's the tools, whether it's the fraternity aspect of the because it was actual trade
a vast
guild
history.
rather. It was a guild at the time, right?
Stonecutters.
Right, and they had it was a guild with their own protocols and procedures, and really taking the tools symbolically as a way for members to grow, right? Because it's really an
Different
analogy
levels.
at different levels, and it's I always see it as also whenever you read a holy scripture, whether it's the Bible or the Quran or whatever scripture that you subscribe to, it's like you read at different points in your life will have a different meaning, right? And I would allude that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I would allude that would be probably similar to the experiences you experience as a Freemason, right?
Absolutely.
Like these, tools that you are. What is it called? The allegory of your own life can take a different meaning depending on the life, the
We're always
experience that
learning,
you have,
correct.
because you're always learning. So that would definitely seems to be a attraction point to get brothers, or at least candidates, to join the craft. And finally, the community engagement, just like you were mentioning.
Oh, definitely.
I noticed, like, those seems to be consistent with lodges that are, populous and engaged, brothers that are engaged, where they have, brotherhood, they have a strong sense of what's going on with the craft and self-improvement, and also, the community engagement. But I wanna circle back to St. Albans, like St. Albans number
5-6.
56. So St. Albans number 56, a legit lodge. That's the lodge of
My mother lodge.
your mother lodge, but that's the lodge where your relatives were in.
Correct.
Oh wow! And again, lodges that have that component of community engagement is always like seems like a recipe for greatness, But yeah, I wanna touch on that a little bit, like the community engagement part. I mean, there's a lot of things that St. Albans has done as far as community engagement. I'd love to talk a little bit about the history of St. Albans. So please, it's for the benefit of our viewers. Tell us, how did St. Albans
It
start?
has a rich history
Yeah.
that can almost go back to predating the country. In fact, believe we went dark during the Revolution War because we had 9 years of war. And of course, the lodge was split. Loyalists, colonialists. We got back together after the revolution, and that's where we got our number 56 from to this day. Now, we've never had an actual building. We started in Brooklyn on Claremont, which is an old Masonic building down there. And there's a lot to be said without owning a Masonic building for finance reasons.
Sure.
We've moved all over Long Island, starting in Brooklyn, Floral Park, we met for 40 years. And then we moved over to Hicksville Lodge with the shrine. We've moved to the Valley at Rockville Center. And now we've landed in Baldwin.
Yeah.
And we always rent from a Masonic lodge because all Masonic lodges are set up the same. So you can use any building.
So for you guys, if you can find this, to my viewers, you can definitely find this lodge, St. Albans Lodge number 56. The lodge that's in the Baldwin area.
Spartan Lodge owns the building.
Spartan Lodge owns the building.
So we meet on the first and third Fridays every month.
Wow. And I wanted to ask you about because on the topic of rich history, there's this incredible event that St. Albans is involved with. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's called the International Meeting of St. Albans Lodges.
It's the international gathering,
Gathering, yeah.
of lodges named for St. Alban.
Right.
St. Alban was a Roman soldier, citizen.
Ah, interesting. So is it, well, let's talk about the gathering first. How did the gathering come about, and what was the, because I believe it's an annual
It's an annual gathering,
Yes, gathering. Yes.
and it moves around the world. But the concept started back during World War II, when London, we have a St Albans Lodge that meets in Freemasons Hall, and that's St Albans 29. So when the Blitz was going on in London, the brothers of St Albans 56 said maybe we should reach out, send some war supplies, food, whatever we can get up, blankets, and just send it over there and see if we can help them in any way, which they did. And after the war, St. Albans 29, as a thank you, invited St. Albans 56 from New York and their families over for a vacation. They gave them a tour of London, and that was the genesis of the gatherings.
Wow. So it was kind of happenstance in a way. I mean, of course, as a legitimate a lodge, to see during World War II something so horrible happen
Right.
in another country and potentially to another that's the entire Grand Lodge building.
Correct.
Of course, I'm sure as brothers we feel impassioned to like assist in some way. Right. So during the process of the assist, it's like, oh wow, I see there's a lodge named St. Albans there as well. And is that how you guys connected at the time? Where
Well,
it was like,
during that visit, as a thank you from London to New York, at some point during that meeting, the minds that be said, well, we wonder how many other St. Albans Lodges might exist in the world. And they started to research it. And in 1954, they got together only a small amount of lodges. London, New York, Montreal, I believe Jackson, Louisiana, came to New York and had the first annual gathering of lodges named St. Albans in that lodge room in New York, and that was the first meeting in 1954. As that concept grew, more and more lodges were found throughout the world, and it grew, and now we have something like 59, 60 lodges
what?
that are named St. Albans.
Right.
Now, not all of them participate.
Sure.
We correspond with some get back to us, some don't. But it moves around. And I've been to England 5 times. There's 4 different St. Albans lodges in England. So it's nice to move around. There's actually a St. Albans town 20 miles north of London where the St. Albans Abbey is, second biggest abbey in the UK to Westminster Abbey. It's huge.
Wow.
And supposedly that's where parts of St. Albans' body is in a crypt there, because he was beheaded for the crime of converting to Christianity.
Oh boy.
When he gave refuge to another Christian, and in Rome, you didn't pay homage to anybody but the emperor. So Christianity was not popular.
Oh yeah.
As we know.
Right.
So when he did have a trial, I believe, and they did find him guilty, and they executed him for being Christian or converting to Christianity.
Or rather, pursuing his religious faith that he desired.
That he wanted, right.
Right. That resonated with him.
Correct.
Sadly, he got
So he became
executed.
a martyr.
Right.
And then he acquired sainthood. So that's where the lodge gets its name, the lodges, for the physical being St. Alban.
And it's almost like it's so symbolic. I mean, he wasn't a Freemason, was he?
No.
Right. No. But it's so symbolic of, I guess, the principles of Freemasonry in a way, right? Like,
Your beliefs, doing good,
yeah,
helping another person.
Yes, standing for what you believe in, standing up for what you believe in that's right. Of course,
even though
being right, it has to be right. Within the tenets of your holy scripture, right? Like standing up for what is right. That's great. That's
where that comes from, the individual. But the lodges, how they spread across the globe, just for modes of transportation, and Masons the way we love to travel.
Yeah.
And as different parts of the world were settled, and Masonry grew, that's how we have all these lodges named St. Albans.
Yeah. And when you say travel, you mean a brother's ability, the benefit of being able to travel to different lodges around the world.
Not only that, but
No?
just to establish a new lodge.
Ah,
So if you're on a ship and you're a seaman and you're traveling to Australia and maybe you settle there and you want to be instituting a new lodge and you know about St. Albans, let's name our lodge St. Albans. No rhyme or reason to it. There's also New Zealand has a Christchurch, New Zealand, I believe it is. They have a St. Albans Lodge. They've hosted it there. So you can really travel the globe just visiting St. Albans Lodges.
it's incredible.
It is incredible.
Yeah. How
For-
many have you personally racked off again?
At least 30.
30.
30 years, yeah. Furthest I've been in Europe would have been Bremen, Germany.
Germany. Okay.
There's a St. Albans Lodge there in Hoya. And they put on a beautiful degree. Usually you get to see how the different countries do the ritual work differently.
Yeah.
Now it was all in German, but you could still see by the way things are presented and said that this is Freemasonry. This
Yeah.
is a lodge.
Yeah. So when you mentioned the word ritual, I just wanted to clarify, a ritual being kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, ritual being kind of like just a standard procedure.
Correct.
That's what,
To open a lodge.
right,
close a
that's
lodge.
what brothers refer to as a quote unquote ritual, right?
Written.
Right, basically something that's written in the procedure that, and again, nothing, correct me if I'm wrong, nothing that far away from, say, a Kiwanis ritual. The
Fraternity.
yeah, right. Like, Kiwanis, whether you're a Kiwanis, which is another organization, it's not a fraternity, Kiwanis. It's like, it's the bisex, like two different sex type of thing, like male and female can join.
Correct.
Kiwanis has their own, performance. I'm sure the Elks have it as well. The Lions, they have like Toastmasters. They have like I used to be a member of Toastmasters. Like
Knights of
they
Columbus.
have exactly.
Which
Yes.
is a very close
Yes.
rendition of Masonry.
Yeah. So when we hear the term ritual, it's nothing where it's like goats coming in or anything like that. It's just an opening, closing procedure.
Time-honored history passed down.
Exactly.
And as it goes from country to country, state to state, there's a little bit different everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the very cool thing to witness, to see.
Yeah, and I appreciate you actually using the word honor too. Like this is really, just like I would say even attest this to like maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, like almost like karate, practicing karate. What's the difference between a person that practices karate and just training for, in the streets, right? Like karate, there's actual cultural significance
Yes.
to bowing, to putting on a gi, the uniform, right?
Protocol.
Putting on the belt a certain way, how you would acknowledge the sensei or the master that's teaching things, Like there's a procedure. That's what makes karate versus somebody that's out in the street that has no protocol, that's just training the techniques. Then they're just,
Winging it.
or McDojo or something like that, right? So that's
yes.
what kind of unifies, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what unifies, brothers from all over the world, that everybody has the same, protocol.
The
And to
theme
me,
is brotherly love
exactly.
and charity.
That brings it together.
That's
right?
what brings it together.
Yeah.
But to witness things done differently, it is an experience to
Yes.
see how it's evolved.
Yes, because it's also I would imagine it also evolves culturally as well, right? Like
Absolutely.
just like just off the top of my head, like McDonald's, for example. You go to a McDonald's in a different country, they cater to the culture of the area. There's
Absolutely.
like you go to India, or they'll have food that McDonald's will have food that caters to the population. Same thing in China, right?
Exactly.
Like KFC as well. And KFC in China is like a very different experience.
imagine.
I would recommend that. Like my wife tells me nothing but great things. I haven't tried it yet, but my wife tells me nothing but great things. So KFC in China.
Well, McDonald's in Germany, you can get a tap beer.
Exactly. That's to my point. Exactly.
So it's all according
it's
to your
fascinating.
surroundings.
Yeah, it's fascinating how things evolve, in different locations, and that's the fascination that
Good and
excites
bad.
you. Yeah, that excites you. But I wanted to touch on also the, especially the rich history of St. Albans and how the annual gathering happens, once a year, and it's been going on. You said for like 50 years
Well,
or
this month will be our 70th anniversary.
70th anniversary. Wow. When was the last time St. Albans gathered in New York? If you to your recollection.
2016.
2016. Wow. So 8 years, 9 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. We've probably hosted several times over the years since the first one. I was actually master of St. Albans in New York when we hosted the 50th, the golden anniversary.
Right.
And then along the way, every gathering, you have a business meeting with the international chairman and secretary. We have all treasurer. It's all legitimately laid out for the future. Who's going to host the next one? You go several years out so that we know that lodge can prepare to host the other lodges.
So there's an actual committee
Oh yeah.
that like a committee that helps organize this, and it's not like a happenstance. I'm gonna wing this.
No.
It's done in a very legitimate way.
There's a chairman, a vice chairman, secretary, treasurer, and that's where you have your necrology reports. You have your treasury. We do raise money primarily for the Abbey in England for restorations on the St. Albans Abbey, and that's what our main charity is.
So the last one you said was 2016, right?
For New York.
For New York, right? Do you recall? I mean, I'm sure
Last
you were.
one was last year in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Oh, the one last year was in Rhode Island. And did you go to that one?
I did. They actually, because of COVID, everything changed.
Right.
We missed 2 years of the gatherings. So they had Massachusetts, St. Albans, they had Bristol, Rhode Island, had the host position, but they had the gathering actually in Massachusetts, which has a St. Albans Lodge. So it's almost like they came together with 3 St. Albans Lodges to put on a gathering. And that was nice.
Right.
Because they have a Scottish degree team that came in and did quite the performance at the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts.
Wow, when you say Scottish degree team, you mean
From Massachusetts.
brothers from Scotland came to Massachusetts to put on a...
Not
Is that
from
what you mean?
Scotland.
Oh.
Heritage, Scottish heritage.
Oh, I see. They came
Just
to...
like we have the Emerald Societies for the Irish here, they have their Scottish Society within Masonry. And they wore the kilts and they walked into the lodge room with bagpipes playing and martial music. That's what I say. It's something to behold to see something different like that. You're never going to see that anywhere in New York.
It's so cool because the connection you have, not just with the history, because there's many lodges that have a history, obviously, right? But like your connection is really an international. St. Albans connection is really an international connection, and it's really intertwined within that particular lodge.
Correct.
So it's really, really cool. What would you say would be like if you could just name off some countries of brothers that came to visit, maybe in the last meeting in New York, or even in Rhode Island that you went to? What were some interesting countries of the brothers actually traveled to from?
I have very strong ties with Canada.
Canada. Okay, so a lot of brothers come.
This one we're hosting on the 14th, we have, I think, 8 brothers coming down with their wives, spouses, and I've known them for 20, 30 years, these brothers. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. You only get to see people once in a blue moon, so it's nice to keep that camaraderie going.
I wanted to, you just mentioned something very important, I think, that is definitely worth talking about, that these brothers that you had come from Canada, you've known for 20, 30 years, and that seems to be consistent with, the experience of Freemasonry. It's like when you're a brother, it's not just, okay, you just come to meetings, go home. Like you're essentially, again, as we were mentioning before, it's like you're building bonds, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you're building bonds with brothers that you'll see for the rest of your life.
Correct.
And
it's only a weekend.
Yeah, but it's like whether it's within your lodge,
right,
or when, as you were mentioning, traveling out, like these are the bonds that it's I'm gonna say this again.
You don't forget.
These are the bonds that you build for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and this is I think to me the exciting thing that you don't see in like the Toastmasters, like any other organization, like the Kiwanis, or I mean, again, not to knock on these organizations. There's a place for them,
Absolutely.
But like as far as the fraternity and the brotherly, the brotherhood and the brotherly bonding, it's like bar none. It's
Different
It's different, yeah.
in a very good way.
Yes.
The first time I went to England to a St Albans gathering, they always try the host lodge to keep the costs down because it's expensive to travel. They put us up in the Rick Women's Worth orphanage for girls. After World War II, there were a lot of orphans. Obviously, parents got killed in the war. And they opened up a 100-acre facility on this campus as an orphanage. And they don't meet in the summer. And that's when we had our gathering that year in England. So they put everybody up in this orphanage. And it was dormitory type style. You're talking almost 100 years old, this building was. They had the old pull chain toilets. In fact, other lodges, when their wives got there, they said, "We're not staying here. It's too old." But it was only like 20 pounds a night. You couldn't beat it. And it was...
It's amazing.
And the hall that we, the educational halls that they had the banquets in, we had dukes, we had all sorts of royalty Masons there. It was people that you would never meet, opera stars that would sing for us, the programs that they put on.
Wow.
The English know how to, several toasts, and very put together for this special occasion.
I gotta say something that's very incredible about St. Albans is that, again, correct me if I'm wrong, right? And this is just an observation that I'm making. What's incredible is that, as a brother, you have the ability, as long as you're, a member, a full-fledged member, paying your dues, you have the ability to travel around.
Correct.
But you're but at the same time, you're kind of, in a way, almost like you're on your own in a way. It's like, okay, well, you have to choose the lodge that you want to go to. You got to choose the location. You got to choose the country. But it seems like what's incredible to me is that you guys already have that in the history and your culture.
Yeah.
This international traveling perspective. It's like, it's like it's already automatically encouraged to go travel and visit a fellow St. Albans Lodge in Germany.
And you feel secure.
Because
the host lodge has everything prearranged as to what's going to happen. There's always a lodge meeting on the Saturday, and then the ladies have a trip separate so they can go tour a part of the area you're staying at. And then you come together that Saturday night for a banquet. Then usually Sunday, either a church service or another tour type thing for all the brothers and ladies to experience. But when you go to these different jurisdictions, you're really under their protection. They know where to have you stay in the hotels, where you go, where you don't go.
Yeah.
And everything is prearranged for your safety and comfort, and to see different lodges that are old.
Now, I gotta say, I want to add like an asterisk to that, because it's like, again, it's not that if you're not in St. Albans, you're not going to get this by traveling, but it's just because, like with St. Albans, because you're a member, it's like it's already intertwined within the culture and the history. Right. The bonds are already built with these other St. Albans lodges, so it's like the connection is like
it's there.
It's already there. It doesn't need to be established, And this term, this ideology, what really excites me, this ideology of bonds. It's a 4-letter word, but it's so deep, and it's like it's very, very. It really you can write papers and a thesis on what does a bond truly mean, and how do you form real bonds with people, with organizations, with government, with media. It's not simple. Again, it's just a 4-letter word, but it's an extremely deep 4-letter word. And what excites me again is that St. Albans have already established bonds. It's very, very incredible. And I gotta say, through my research, there is no other lodge like this. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe there is, but I haven't found it. like a lodge that has these pre-established bonds.
St. Albans, yeah.
It's incredible. It's really great.
And you don't necessarily have to be a member of a St. Albans Lodge to enjoy that camaraderie.
Right.
Over the years, we've had visiting brothers from other lodges that attend, such as the Indian degree we're going to be doing on the 14th. We have brothers from all over the state that will come down to observe the degree, and then they'll go to the banquet, and they'll make their own bonds and their own friends.
Right.
And they're automatically in. And they visit on their own,
Right.
even though they're not part of a St. Albans Lodge. But they love the camaraderie, and they love the program, and they love everything about the gathering
Yes.
that they attend every year.
Yeah.
Not even being a member of St. Albans Lodges. So it's open to all Masons.
Yeah. Right. And I definitely don't want any misunderstandings from the viewers. I don't want to allude like it's an exclusive.
It's not.
It's exclusive just to St. Albans, right? I mean, I was just emphasizing, what excited me about the history
Right.
of St. Albans. But
Even to the public with the banquet that's open to family, friends. The Indian degree will do a special presentation on Saturday the 14th at night for the public, for the children.
Well, I love this. Let's talk about this. The Indian degree that you guys are having on October 14th, 2023. But it's still amazing and worthwhile to talk about, like the history behind this. Because, again, something progressive and new that, again, you don't really see that much in Freemasonry. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what was the origins of the Indian degree? Are they a part of St. Albans? How did it come about that you guys are doing this during your international gathering of St. Albans?
So when we have these gatherings, again, when you visit the different lodges, you want to expose the visiting brother from different countries, different states, to something that we do in the United States that's different. And they can take that home with them and say, wow, we saw the Oklahoma Indians raise 6 fellow crafts in their lodge during their meeting.
Right.
And so that's something you want to try and do different in every state, jurisdiction, country, not just your regular opening and closing and nothing really memorable to take home. So I had seen the Oklahoma Indians do a degree maybe 3 years ago down in Delaware.
Right. Now, these are Masons. These Native
Oklahoma
American Indians
that are
Masons.
They are recognized, again, they're not clandestine Indians just running around putting on degrees. They are recognized by the Grand Lodge of Oklahoma as a certified lodge. And years ago, they started doing their degree work on a traveling basis to let other people see how they do their degree a little differently. And this year, we've been granted dispensation to have them come to New York and actually do their degree.
And now they're not from a lodge that's named St. Albans.
No,
Do you know what's the name of their lodge, or are they from different lodges?
they go under the name of Oklahoma Indian Degree Team.
Right, because they're from different, I believe they're from different
So
lodges.
they
right?
could be
Yeah.
from different lodges throughout Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And they all come together at this special team to put on this degree. And I think the oldest member that's coming on the 14th, he's 91. So he's been doing it a long time.
Wow.
And it's rich in history, which I wasn't able to see that down in Delaware. So I'm going to see that at the banquet and get the history. And there'll be a question and answer for the public and for the Masons. If they have any questions for them, any specifics, they're going to be giving eagle feathers out to the children, do a ceremonial dance, just really rich history that could be lost at any minute because nobody's getting any younger. They do have new members that come in, but the older Indians really have it locked into their memories.
Oh yeah, and I'll definitely put in the description of this episode, contact information,
Sure,
email on if there is interest in still
have
attending.
seats, sure, absolutely.
Yes, you still have seats available for the degree for Masons,
right.
and the banquet, which is open to the public,
to the
right?
public,
Open to
absolutely.
the public. So if you are interested, I'll definitely put that information
Rockville
on there.
Center, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of circle back a little bit though to what we had talked about before, just the cultural evolution of Freemasonry in different regions, right? Because with the as far as the Indian degree, you were talking about Native American Indians that were brothers, that within their culture, they decide, within the culture of their lodge and their own personal culture, they were encouraged and to create almost something new, an Indian degree.
Correct.
And it wasn't necessarily just like that. Like they actually planned it out. They asked for proper permission, and
Right.
they got the proper permission to do this. Kind of like, again, an evolution. It's the degree that is done in a different way.
That's it.
In a
It's
way, right?
similar to most of our ritual,
Right, right.
but it's also different Indian style, whether it's with the costume they wear or they've changed certain things in different ways to make it more memorable.
Yeah, yeah. And I follow them on Facebook. And I'll put their Facebook link on there also, like them. I follow them on Facebook, and I see that they travel all
Everywhere.
over. I think the last few months they must have went to like different states. I think they went up to Canada. I don't recall, but like I've seen them just
They've been to London. They've been out all. They've been all over.
holy moly. It's like, and I think it takes a special, really passionate person about what they're doing to really do this, because it's like you're on the road all the time. I'm sure it's going to be definitely a sight to behold.
Now I'm making more friendships with the secretary and the leader of the degree team, and being on the phone and emailing, texting. You've just broadened your horizons with more brothers in Oklahoma,
Yeah, yeah.
aside from them being Indians. They're American Indians.
There's so much to unpack on everything that you
It's
just
endless.
said. And I really hope that I can really encapsulate this, because it's like, it's not only building bonds within the brotherhood. It's like you're exercising your ability and skill to build bonds outside of craft, right?
Oh,
it's always
priceless.
and we always come back to this, like it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like just the constant allegory of what you're doing in the brotherhood is simply a analogy of your own life, and just everything.
Living life.
A common term that I hear from from Masons is like, you get out what you put in,
Right.
and it's a very simple word. Like, again, just kind of like 4-letter word of bond. It's a simple concept, but it's not simple to practice, right? Yeah.
Masons are supposed to travel, depending on their cable toe and their ability.
Of course.
But we are supposed to travel, and you get so much more out of Masonry when you travel and experience out of your realm, a different realm. It's special.
Yeah, and it's difficult, right? Because it's like not everybody is extroverted, right? There are
Right.
people that are just like a little shyer, and it's a little difficult. But then it's like, to me, I mean, I was there as well, but to me, it's like, man, once you get out of your comfort zone, it's like a bug that almost. And maybe that's why we get along so well, right? Because we have that similar mindset. Could be, right? I don't know.
Like mine's thing. I like
Exactly. But I wanted to circle back to, a little bit more about you,
Sure.
because you joined the craft when you were 21. You did enter into
21, 22.
right, 21, 22. You did become a police officer.
Yes, I was a police officer. In 1984, I joined.
Wow, I would love to just talk a little bit about that history, because I'm sure, that must have been an interesting experience, huh? How long have you been? You're retired now, but
No, I retired in 94, so I did 10 years, a little over 10 years. I was injured in the Rockaways in a subway collapse.
oh, what?
So, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What happened there? I never heard about this.
It was an elevated branch of the A line, which goes all the way out to the Rockaways. And it was in bad disrepair. Being elevated, everything was rusted. And when the train came into the platform, as we were walking up the steps, the whole superstructure from the steps collapsed, crushing my ankle, breaking my legs.
Oh my gosh.
But I still stayed on 5 more years. I worked for the property clerk division. Best job ever. I mean, it was very fulfilling. I mean, I would have rather stayed, but you don't have that choice.
Yeah.
They survey you. It's all calculated as to you get rid of an old timer and they can hire 2 new guys at the same salary.
Right.
So you kind of get surveyed off, as they say.
Mm.
But unbelievable experiences through those 10 years.
Holy moly.
Delivering babies, shootings, basic saving people from drowning. Very fulfilling, helping people.
How old
like
were-
Masonry.
How old were you when you joined the force?
22.
Oh, so like
Right in tandem with Masonry.
Wow. And you were
Just another brotherhood.
you were placed in the Rockaways.
That was a summer detail,
Oh, okay.
but I started in Manhattan,
Okay.
the 20th precinct, on
Okay.
the Upper West Side.
Upper West Side, and this was I think you said 89 to like 90. Oh, I'm sorry,
84.
84.
Yeah.
So for our history buffs out there, right? This was a very tumultuous time in New York City as far as crime,
The
right?
advent of crack was taking over the city.
Holy moly.
42nd Street was still not a nice place to walk.
Yeah.
All the theaters had turned to X-rated theaters. Right. The city was in bad shape.
Yeah.
Financially. They had hard times, so it was a lot.
Wow,
It
and
was a lot,
and
but it was still exciting.
takes a very
'Cause
special breed, yeah.
You're a kid, and your training's the best in the world. New York City Police Department, the Academy, best training in the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's like society and non-society is really held together by a very thin line, I feel.
Yes.
And it's a blue line, right? Like it's really held together by people that the impression that if something bad happens, you're going to get caught. I mean, that's just, I think, human nature, that it's important to have this,
Right.
this
we
in
are
our
a
head.
society.
In
of
our
rules
society.
and laws.
Yes, that's what makes a society, and it's enforced.
Right.
So God bless. It's I'm happy.
Things have changed.
Of course, as with everything, right?
with
Even
everything.
Masonry, but like God bless. Thank you for your service, because it's like it's. But I wanted to ask you,
But we have the police square club within the police department.
Oh, that's right. Yes, can you talk a little bit about that? That's cool too.
Which we've celebrated over 100 years of Masonry in the police department. Square clubs are basically Masons that form their own group in any profession. Whether you're a fireman, sanitation, carpenters union, welders union. If you're all Masons and you want to come together, you form a square club.
Mm-hmm.
So the New York City Square Club has been around a long time. One of the oldest fraternities in the police department. And we do the same thing. We meet down at Advanced Temple in Long Island City, have meetings, see what we can do to help. Just another camaraderie.
Right.
And I have a challenge going for you too.
Oh, thank you. That's cool. It's a thing in Freemasonry, right? Like
It's a
the
thing
challenge.
with
I see.
everything.
But I see it a lot in Freemasonry. Challenge coins, pins, and challenge coins are the big things. And
I love the Grand
those are norms.
Masters. He's got Teddy Roosevelt. So.
Oh yes,
Yeah, it's cool.
yes. So I would say, I have to ask you. You're one of my first guests that was connected. Used to work with NYPD as a police officer, and I know you're not going to be my last. I'm going to have others moving forward. But I do want to pick your brain, like if there was a hard experience, difficult experience that you experienced during your time as a police officer, how did you overcome it? And especially with our viewers, a lot of times they listen to podcasts to get some kind of advice or inspiration. Did you ever have any of those kind of experiences, like a hardship, and how did you overcome it?
Well, there's hardship everywhere, but
Sure.
you see the worst of people in their time of need. So whether it's suicide, drugs,
Oh boy.
poverty, I can't tell you how many times people were robbed and they couldn't get home We reached into our own pocket, gave them money to take a subway or pay a toll.
Right.
So you see all that, and you try and make people's lives better. It's not easy.
Yeah. But I can
It's
imagine.
not all about being locked up. It's also compassion.
Yeah.
Get people. I used to carry a toolkit, because people would call 911 back in the day for a leaky pipe. Elderly person, a shut-in. So I always had a couple of wrenches, hammer, screwdriver. And I don't think it's allowed anymore. But if you can help people, carry a toolbox.
I could imagine, no, but I could imagine, like, during that time in the 80s, it's like hardship is everywhere every day, right?
And all you had was a radio. There was no technology.
Right. And,
ambulances didn't come.
wow.
So you had to carry people down flights of stairs with no elevators, into your car to the hospital, try and do CPR.
Yeah.
There were no masks. you didn't even have gloves.
Right. I want to say that you kind of touch on something that's very deep as well. Like, because you're just one man, yet you elected to carry tools, handyman tools, like wrenches, to, in your way, make the mark to try and fix the world the way you want it to be fixed. In your case, even though, again, you have only had one set of hands, two hands, right? In your own way, right? Besides, your duties as a police officer, you decided, I want to help this way, to just one impact at a time, which is a Masonic, correct me wrong, it's a Masonic principle, right? It's like,
it's a human principle.
It's a human principle where it's like there's like this relationship I always feel between helping others and helping yourself, because it's, even though you help others, in many ways you're helping yourself internally, right? If you're in a bad mood, helping others actually lifts you up a little bit, right?
Makes you a better person.
Makes you a better person. And there's this very intimate relationship between the two. And I find through my research, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I find that through my research, Freemasonry, it seems like the principles of Freemasonry has always been to develop yourself as a better human being so you can better help society. And when society is better, you help yourself.
And
Because
we all benefit.
Because we all benefit, right?
Absolutely.
Like that one, like as a public school teacher before, like I always saw it like this: that one difficult kid, misbehaving kid, helping that one kid change his perspective, his or her perspective, can potentially help me in the future. Because that same kid, who knows, could have went down a wrong path and maybe did harm to me in the future. Who knows? I mean, I'm being extreme about this, but
the other way could help you do good to somebody.
Exactly, and this is not a account or a story that's that far out of the reach of possibility, So I think, to me, what's moving about Freemasonry is that, the constant state of trying to improve yourself to be a better person.
Right.
Because when you become a better person, the community that you're in becomes better.
Right.
And when the community becomes better, it's like a constant, this is where I think.
Elaborate.
Right. This is where how, at least from what I see, Freemasonry is something that's great for the world.
Absolutely.
And they're not, now Freemasonry isn't the only organization that does this, right?
Absolutely.
There are many others, but to me, it's like what's fascinating about Freemasonry is definitely that.
We're not perfect either. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. People learn from their mistakes, and that's true in all facets of life.
Right.
And we correct it, and we move on, and we try and do better.
Yes. Another, right? Like a Freemason principle and tenet, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So I want to say, what does brotherhood mean to you? I just wanted to ask. Now that you've been a member since you were 21, you said around 21?
I think I'm approaching 35 years.
Wow. What does brotherhood mean? I'm sure, during that time you learned a lot about this ideology of bonds and brotherhood. Like, what does it mean to you?
It means to help each other. If you could boil it down, just to be there for each other, to be there for each other's families, to learn through other brothers who have gone before us, their experiences. So many veterans I know that are not with us that were Masons. that were there for D-Day, the Battle of the Bulge. I mean, amazing stories from their lives. That are, they're Masons. Most of them are all passed now. Few left.
Yeah.
But the brotherhood that they impart upon you, and then you impart upon them. What good stories of helping each other. Brotherhood is helping each other.
I have to ask you this. You just reminded me something that we have to talk about. You know, speaking of brothers helping each other, and of course helping society always, right? We try our best. But I'm saying like speaking of brothers helping each other, I believe there was a legendary account of during World War II, during the bombing. Please excuse me, my history buffs out there, if I'm butchering the names, but the Luftwaffe, which are the German
pilots,
bombers and pilots
right.
that were attacking
their
England.
Air Force.
That was their Air Force
Luft
attack.
means lift.
So there was an account about how they were. I'll let you tell it, but in some, I think it was like something about the pilot being Masons, seeing a building that's a Masonic building in England. Could you talk a little bit about that? It's a very fascinating account.
The pilots were aware, of course, where they were bombing, and they knew the location of Freemasons Hall, which is equivalent to our Grand Lodge. And all around Freemasons Hall was bombed. And Freemasons Hall never got touched. So, in a way, it was surmised that the Luftwaffe pilots, who a lot of them were Masons because they wore the forget-me-not pin, which was one way to recognize one Mason during World War II as German officers, soldiers. They avoided doing any damage to the Freemasons Hall in London. So they knew they were brothers down there. They knew that was their Grand Lodge, and they didn't want to destroy it or harm it.
Right.
Even though they were there to do a job, they gave a little leeway to the Masons.
And that's very, I'm getting goosebumps just hearing it. Again, actually, because you told me this account before, but like, I'm getting goosebumps hearing about it because essentially they were told, you know, they were given a job, as you were saying.
Right.
And because there's something more powerful than the simple task that they
Doesn't
had to
mean
do.
you like your job.
Exactly. There was something more powerful that that told them, I am not going to touch this specific building. And
some of them might have visited
exactly
Freemasons Hall before the war, I'm sure. You know, Germans visited London, Londoners visited Berlin. They knew where things were.
Yeah.
And they had good memories.
So it's something that I would even theorize, maybe it's the strength of the bonds that were created, right? That had been established time memorial before that, and the bonds of the unity of the craft that compelled them to say, I am not going to touch this building. Right. And that's a very powerful, I think.
Could it have been a coincidence? Possibly.
Okay.
Is it really feasible to think that they, never got touched? It's a big building.
And foundational, they had no foundational issues from that war, right?
Yeah.
So it's
still there.
Yeah.
I've been there several times.
Survived the war, built before the war. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible.
I encourage people to go visit there. It's really nice.
And I want to say, this kind of story is not exclusive just to England.
No.
Like these stories where the Masonic bond transcended a duty of a job, a duty of a war. I've heard stories, accounts of the Civil War, where you had brothers that were in the North and the South that did not want to fight each other because they were held together by these bonds, this bond of unity and friendship.
I can tell you a story about that.
Okay, yeah, please.
St Albans has a St Albans Lodge down in St Francisville, Louisiana, which sits on the Mississippi River. And when we go down there, they always open up the grave of 2 or 3 Union officers that were on a gunboat on the Mississippi River, and the Confederates were shooting down on them, and these Union officers were killed.
Wow.
And they put up a flag of truce, said, we have 3 Masons that were just killed by your shells. We'd like to bury them. And the Confederate Masons honored the truce, allowed them to bring the bodies up the land. They had a Masonic funeral, North and South, buried the Union dead, and then went back to killing each other. So in the midst of a battle,
Yeah.
because they were Masons, they gave each other the respect to bury their Masonic dead, and then carried on the war.
Wow. And you see, I'm getting goosebumps again.
And you can go there to this day and
Right.
visit the graves.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps again because it's like, again, we are such a polarizing society nowadays.
Right.
You know, it's almost like a gang mentality in a way, where in anything, right?
Right.
But
Things have changed.
but of course, but consistently though, it's like, you know, to this day, you know, I can totally see it as well. To this day, and even, you know, what we've seen in history, it's just that those bonds is what makes Freemasonry so powerful,
Right.
because of those bonds. And it's, you know, again, just coming back to this idea of this, it's only a 4-letter word, but these bonds, you know, that's built, it's
Very strong.
It's extremely strong, that transcends many things, you know. And the bonds, again, it's formed by the simple brotherhood, the simple procedures of our craft,
Right.
and you know, all the great.
It's hard to be
things.
broken.
So I wanted to also touch on what drives you to continue in Freemasonry. I think if we think about what we've been talking about, you know, in this episode, we could all allude to it, like what is it? But I wanted to get your thoughts on what continues to drive you to be a member and participate in Freemasonry.
Well, it's a journey. I've been privileged to be the master of St Albans. I'm also past master of Masonic Lodge.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to clarify. When you say master, you mean the person that runs the lodge, right?
I won't say the president, but the head
The head. Okay.
is the master.
Okay.
And then you have your subordinates under you,
Yeah.
wardens, deacons,
Right.
and so on.
Okay. Again, like just positional names, not actual, like like a slave type of a thing. Like these
Not
are just
at all.
positional names, right?
It's like any function. You
Right.
know, you have
Right.
your hierarchy.
Yeah.
And to run an organization, you need officers.
Exactly. People to help out, and right.
So Mineola was my last mastership.
Oh wow.
So I find it as a journey, and there are so many facets to Masonry that within my lifetime I'll never be able to experience them all. Masonic Yacht Club. If you'd have told me 5 years ago that there was a Masonic Yacht Club, I'd have been, what are you talking about? Because I'm a member of a yacht club.
Yeah.
But there is, and it's special to New York. I think it's one of the only states that has a Masonic Yacht Club. Commandery, all the concordant bodies. I belong to Nassau 73. I just did my commandership there. So you have the York Rite. Within that tree, if you would, of the family, then you have the Scottish Rite. And then you have all the square clubs and the grottos and the shrine. And there's always going to be something else that you didn't know about that exists that you might really find fulfilling and enjoying. So to keep going on that journey is what keeps me going, because what's behind the next door, and what enlightening history is behind all of it, and just gives you a well-rounded Masonic career.
Right.
So,
and even I would imagine, like, it gives you and just constantly giving you new perspectives on things.
learning.
Yeah.
And maybe you're doing something wrong. It's like, geez, maybe I ought to do this way, learn how to do it better.
Right.
So,
Coming back to this idea, this analogy of life, right? Just engaging in an organization that just constantly, like in your case, is just looking for just these new experiences that, and learning about new things that you haven't done before. And it's like, it's a great mental exercise of you in your own personal life, just to constantly search for things, right? And like search for new experiences, learning new things.
and they're good things.
Good things, right?
Right.
Good things. So what do you think is the secret sauce to Freemasonry as a whole?
The glue that holds us together.
Okay, the bonds, right? Would you say? Or
Well, yeah, the bonds.
Yeah.
Tradition.
tradition?
Taking good men, making them better, making your little piece of the world a better place for everybody to live
Right.
and get along.
Now, I wanted to say, you get a lot of these weird during anybody's research on Freemasonry, and I open everybody to do their research on anything that they want to do in their life, right? It's like there's always these weird like statements or ideas that Freemasonry is about Illuminati and trying to take over the world. I mean, I just wanted to get your thoughts on those negative perspectives on that.
Again, it's speculative. It's internet. It's disinformation, and it's up to you to do the research.
Yeah.
To boil it down to truth or fiction. You can't just go into it blindly, and it's always going to be there. The naysayers or the people who are trying to profit off of Masonry, self-serving.
Yeah.
But that's true in life and anything.
Exactly.
But in Masonry, we try to sidestep all that and walk the line,
Yeah, and it seems like, through the research that I've seen, it's like when you do the right thing, when you're constantly doing the right thing, it's very difficult to...
Well, there's politics involved in everything.
Of course, but, you're constantly doing the right thing. Right. It's like, it's very difficult.
You can be right, but you can be dead right. So there's a fine line sometimes you got to walk through,
I gotcha. Right. But it's, I think when people, they pursue a path of excellence and doing right by others, committing to helping others, helping society, helping community. Right. I feel like it's, people can always say whatever they want to kind of tear something down, but you let your actions kind of speak for yourself, right?
It's easy to talk the talk, but not walk the walk.
Exactly. And it's easy to always talk about the way somebody walks, but talking doesn't mean anything because the person's walking, right?
You let that roll off your shoulders and keep going.
Exactly.
To the great architect.
So I don't know what better way to end it there. Brother Charlie, I'm going to put in the information for St Albans Lodge number 56. If you guys are...
70th annual gathering coming up.
Absolutely. If you have any questions about Freemasonry, St. Albans 56 is a legit lodge, recognized internationally, nationally, it's definitely a point of research for my researchers out there are just curious about the craft. If you guys are around October 14th for the international gathering of St. Albans Lodges and the Oklahoma Indian degree.
That's the 14th.
That will be October 14th. And
we're going to do a meet and greet on that Friday the 13th.
Right.
At the hotel, Best Western in Rockville Center.
Yes.
If you want to just come down, it's casual. We're going to have, finger food, cocktails, little two-piece band. If you can't make the whole weekend, you have Friday.
Yeah.
You have the ladies' trip, to Grand Central Terminal. Sunday, we're going to do a tour around Manhattan. Wow. Maybe take the Staten Island Ferry, do something different for the Oklahoma Indians.
Okay.
So there's quite a few days that you could do, but the meet is the 14th, Saturday.
Yes. 11 a.m., right? That's when the degree will be.
Yeah.
And Brother Charlie.
Pleasure, Hamilton.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lau. It is always an honor to call you my brother. But
it's mutual. Absolutely.
And again, I'll put information there. Brother Charlie, appreciate you as always. This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information.